was an unprecedented year to say the least. While the year started off seemingly normal, no one could have predicted where it was headed. On this week's show, we're taking a look at our highlights of 2020, a year unlike any other. We began the year with a very special interview with Abhishek Bachchan, who was in LA supporting an important cause. He talked to us about Magic Bus as well as the impact that Kobe Bryant's death had on him.
Magic Bus, you're the patron. Cause is obviously very, very special to your heart. Tell me, how did you get initially involved?
Well, it's coming up on, I think, 9 years now that Aishwarya and I first worked with Magic Bus. It had to do with Aradhya, our daughter, and we were looking to do something around her birth. And Aishwarya thought it would be very nice to work with and do something for underprivileged children. And as fate would have it, Magic Bus and Aishwarya and I came into touch with each other. And then we just started working together, and it's something that we work very closely with. And Matthew and the entire Magic Bus team in India and now overseas have become like an extended family. And it's been 9 very fruitful and rewarding years for us. And very happy to be a part of the Magic Bus family and to work with them.
As a sports fan yourself, I think you were a Kobe fan, if I'm not mistaken. There's going to be a public memorial. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I got the gold on for Kobe. So, yeah, I've been a lifelong Laker fan, you know. I was a small kid, I think I was 4 or 5 years old when my father took me to the Forum to see the Lakers play the Celtics. And in those days it was, you know, Bird versus Showtime. So I've been a lifelong Laker fan, and I definitely feel one of the greatest Lakers ever has been Kobe, and it's just absolutely tragic. I was filming in Kolkata for my latest film when I had an early call, so I was up at 3:30 in the morning when a friend of mine from the States sent me the message, and it was devastating. I think to the entire sporting world it's been devastating. He's just been such an iconic figure and such a mentor and a beacon to so many people. It was, you know, if you come to LA, you see that he's impacted the entire city, and they've taken it very personally. It's like a personal loss. And so yes, obviously very devastated for him, for his daughter, for his family, and the other families that were, you know, obviously affected by this horrendous accident. And thoughts and prayers of strength to his wife and his children, his parents, and to Laker Nation. You know, being a Laker fan, it's something that is very hard to you know, get over. But yeah, thoughts and prayers.
2020 saw the debut of a South Asian character and show on the Disney Channel, Meera Royal Detective. We had the chance to attend the red carpet premiere and speak to one of the stars of the show, Frida Pinto.
I play Queen Shanti in the show, and she's the Queen of Jaipur. She's a benevolent, kind, compassionate queen, but she also has a very important job, which is to hire the best royal detective to the kingdom. Because, you know, there are things that need mystery solving and problem solving, and I think one of the best things that Queen Shanti ever does is hiring Meera to be the royal detective. I think the Holi episode is definitely going to be one of my favorite parts, because this is the first time I'm going to be watching something that is based on an Indian festival that hasn't been whitewashed or Americanized. We're really talking about laddus when you're talking about laddus, just because the American audience may not know what laddus is. We're not going, oh, let's make it candy. No, we're not doing that. We're sticking to our laddus and we're sticking to our samosas. And I think that's what I think is truly remarkable about the show.
Moving on from the red carpet of Meera Royal Detective, we sat down one-on-one with the 2 leads of the show, Leela Ladnier and Utkarsh Ambudkar.
How did you hear that you were the star for this?
My mom actually took me out to an ice cream shop and told me. And I'll be honest, I understand more now how monumental this project is. Back then I was 14, I'd say, and I it was obviously crazy to think I'd be a part of a Disney show, but now I have a clear understanding of how much this show is going to mean to so many people that have deserved this show for so long, especially like my mom's generation, but also the young kids who are going to grow up normalizing Indian culture and who are going to be exposed to, you know, more diversity.
So tell me, when you first heard you were going to be on the show, what was your reaction?
Excitement. But the first reaction with things like this is always a little bit of suspicion, trepidation, not from a negative place, but from a place of love for the culture and from a deep sense of what means to be a part of it and who we're representing, and the history of misrepresentation and wanting the show to depict South Asian culture and vibrancy and light in the right way. And in terms of like the creatives, the quote-unquote bosses, we've been allowed to influence, again, from a place of love and passion and understanding of who we are and experience. We've been able to influence the direction of the show, which is really special.
So take me back to the moment where you performed for the Oscars recap. Can I ask you impromptu to either do a little bit of that rap or any rap you feel like?
Reshma, I'm so glad you're here. Congrats on making it 22 years. Dun, 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 dun. And these guys know you're the only one who got it, even a bar. There you go.
Before we knew it, 2020 had changed all of our lives all around the world. Like everyone else, we also adjusted for the circumstances and launched a new segment on Showbiz India from our homes, Chat with Showbiz, where we spoke about many topics that were important and relevant. Here are some highlights.
Welcome everyone to our very first episode of Showbiz India Chat, as we're going to talk about current events. It's been over 2 months since Sushant Singh Rajput passed away, and his death has triggered an unusual debate of nepotism.
Nepotism exists and it's in every single industry. However, it should find a way to coexist with great talent. The problem is when great talent is trumped because someone's daughter or someone's son should get the opportunity.
What is it like to be a working actor in such a competitive field?
It's great. I mean, look, the pros are you can follow your bliss, your fidelity to your human spirit and do what you want to do in life. Cons are there's so much competition in terms of acting. Like there's so many intangibles that you do not control. It's not a meritocracy. I'm depressed right now. Here I am. I'm in the dark. No, I'm good.
Oh yeah, look, no Shalvar.
The lyrics of the song created quite a bit of controversy and triggered a lot of fans.
It just made me that much more upset when I saw this song and the lyrics for it, almost putting her to shame for having darker skin.
The Tanishq ad especially, it promotes interfaith marriages, like you said, inter-religion, unity, and it's actually very beautiful, and it's really sad.
Do you know the most Muslims in the world live in India? That's the highest populated Muslim country. So guys, we need to get along, every religion.
Bollywood needs to be taken down. By the way, Deepika Padukone, she should change her name to Deepika Padukocaine at this point. Exposed.
Should celebrities be politically active? Hell yes. You have a platform, you have a voice.
Do you recommend The Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives?
I do. I recommend all of you go and watch it.
Can somebody please tell me why Bollywood stars want to break in America?
I think they all just want to achieve what Priyanka has somewhat achieved.
And they should follow those guidelines. They cannot just go around calling people whatever the...
Oh, what? What were you gonna say, Ayushi? What were you gonna say? Were you gonna cross the line there?
Luckily, Zoom made it easy for us to stay in touch and reach out to the stars. One of our first interviews was with actress Chandrika Ravi, who talked to us about her career and being the first Indian woman to be in the state finals for Miss World Australia.
When did the acting bug bite you?
It literally bit me I would say since I was born, I had a lot of Bollywood opportunities before this. I always said that, you know what, I feel like I want to do my own people's language first. I actually did it. I did what I said I wanted to do. I wanted to do a Tamil or Malayalam film first in India.
You were the first Indian woman to be in the state finals for Australia.
Going through the list and just going, I'm the only Southeast Asian Indian girl. Like, I'm the only Indian girl in this. And that too, being born in Australia, like, wow, this is like my time to really put us on the map.
Being in lockdown prompted a lot of our Bollywood stars to find ways to let out their creativity. In April, we spoke to one of our favorite directors, Mr. Vikram Bhatt, who released a poem to inspire others through quarantine.
And it prompted you to record this poem, Invictus. Now, you say this is one of your favorite poems of all times. It's about inner strength, it's about perseverance. We all need the inner strength right now, but what were your reasonings other than that?
You know, this poem was Nelson Mandela's favorite poem. And all the years, I think 28 years, he was incarcerated. There wasn't a day that he did not say this poem to himself. And when I heard it for the first time, and when I read it for the first time, it just blew my mind, because the meaning is so deep that it tells you that you will survive, and all you need to survive is to know that you have the strength and you have the ability to survive. You will survive in any condition.
In June, we got the chance to speak to the cast of the movie What Are the Odds? Abhay Deol, Karanveer Malhotra, and Yashaswini Dayama. They spoke about their quirky movie and their thoughts on the BLM movement that took over the United States amidst the pandemic.
The film was such a refreshing change about a little girl with big dreams. What made you decide for this subject?
Story of my life. A little girl with big dreams.
I wish I was as woke as Vivek is and was, but this has been a complete, like, a dream project, like, to get to do something like this so early on in your career.
Tonight was the memorial of George Floyd. Abhay, you have lived here. When you first heard about this, what were the thoughts?
I wasn't surprised. I went to college in LA too. I just remember as a student in LA, the African-American kids that I knew, I remember one of them, who was a good friend at the time, I lost touch with him, saying that the cops do this, the cops do that, blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, and I was young, I was like 19, thinking, I can't believe that they'd be that bad. I remember having that thought, which is such a privileged, uninformed position to come in from. I'm not surprised. I know that this has been systemic and sustained over a long period of time. The difference is now we have cameras. And of course, one can compare these systemic problems in the US to India as well. It's important to start having dialogue, because if you notice, some of the same tropes that perhaps the racists and the right wing would use in America, you'd be maybe surprised or not surprised that the same kind of racist, casteist, right wings, people, individuals in India use the same exact tropes. In India, the celebrities will support the Black Lives Movement, but yet they'll take a paycheck from whitening cream company. I'm not saying don't survive, I'm saying survive, but, you know, inspire others to move in a certain direction.
Actress Pooja Kumar joined us twice this past year to talk about her new show and share her thoughts on the very important topic of nepotism in India, which was something that took over the country after the death of Sushant Singh Rajput.
What is your thoughts on this ongoing debate about nepotism in Bollywood?
You know, I just wish people would be like concentrating on work. Let's just concentrate on getting good stories out there. Let's concentrate on script writing, on TV shows, on things like that. There's always going to be differences within people. I mean, the acceptance of new people coming into the industry is, I would say, the most accepting that it's ever been. Sushant Singh Rajput. I mean, I keep bringing him up a lot. It just, I think, has affected a lot of people. He's one person where you can say, look, he came and he did it. I mean, he made it happen. And it's not easy. It's not easy. This is a very cutthroat industry. And so unless you love it fully, I always tell everyone, don't do it. This whole topic of nepotism and all that, it's okay, fine, it's there. Great. Now let's move on. How do we solve it? And we solve it by making more projects.
What is your viewpoint when you first heard about George Floyd's death?
It made me sad because of the Black and their riots, and because of their community, and because of how they had their civil rights movement. We're here today. I think it's a must, and we must do it as a South Asian community, and really speak out about this and really support this movement, because we know what it feels like to be oppressed. But South Asians, you know, we're so caught up with one of the other stereotypes about being fair and lovely. And that's something that I think as a South Asian community that, like, we have to get over this whole thing about being fair and lovely. Yeah, you are pretty. I mean, there's no doubt. But then, like, brown is beautiful too. And once we start getting over it's going to make a huge, huge difference in our lives.
Shortly after, doctor and producer Ashok Amritraj talked to us about his upcoming film based on the life of Arthur Ashe, a civil rights activist and tennis player. He spoke to us about the importance of making this film during these times with the BLM movement.
So this is such an incredible story of the only Black man to have won the Wimbledon, to won US Open and Australia Open. So congratulations on that, and tell me, what are you feeling right now?
Well, Arthur lived an extraordinary life. Unfortunately it was cut short, but he was not only a great tennis player, he was also a civil rights activist, both here as well as in South Africa, where he really found his voice. I knew Arthur a bit because we actually played each other in the mid-70s. It was sort of the time when I was playing professional tennis, and I was just coming up. He had won Wimbledon and all of that. I had reached the finals of the Wimbledon Juniors. He's an inspirational and aspirational figure, wonderful temperament, and he's one of these intellectuals that sort of reminds you of the sort of present day Obama. I'm certainly a big supporter of Black and Brown Lives Matter. I think it's a very important subject to talk about. I think peaceful protests are a good thing. For me personally, these last 3 months have been quite a time of self-reflection as well. It's been an interesting time to spend with family, while at the same time you see all of this chaos around. You think about your past and careers and future and so on. I have been very involved in philanthropy and continue to be so, but also am very involved with sort of diversity and inclusion.
During quarantine, a lot of shows and movies that released digitally blew up. One such show was Indian Matchmaking on Netflix. In August, we got to speak with Smriti Mundra, the creator of the show. She dished about her father making the reality show and the backlash it also faced, along with the praises.
This is especially a very special interview for me. As you know, your mother was the producer, Mrs. Chandra Mundra, of the pageant that I won many years ago and jump-started my career. And your late father, Dr. Jagmohan Mundra, I was very, very fond of. What a nice man. He helped so many, including me. And I think I've known you since you were like 8 years old.
Yeah, it's been a while. It's and I think you did one of the last interviews with my dad that he did before he passed away in our house, in our home, and I watched that all the time, over and over again. So, yeah.
So let's talk about Indian matchmaking. Of course, it's become big news. Everyone's talking about it. My God.
Before I got married, it was, very confusing, and there were a lot of ups and downs when I went through my own matrimonial journey in terms of trying to find a life partner. And
you did that yourself.
Oh yeah, oh yes, absolutely, all of it. Shadi.com, Times of India matrimonial ad. So that whole journey led me to Seema Taparia, who is a very well-known matchmaker in our community, and she did sort of give me this insight into this whole world of matchmaking, and her business, which I thought was like a great way to sort of see. It was almost like a litmus test to see where we are, as a culture in terms of, how much we've progressed when it comes to, ideas about marriage and gender roles and all of those kinds of traditional conservative things, and where we haven't progressed. So when the opportunity came up to make this show, I felt like it would be, a good idea to sort of broaden the scope, in terms of seeing many different types of clients and sort of how she interacts with her clients, and how they interact with her. And, to see how things are changing, because she's a fairly traditional, old-fashioned matchmaker, and her clients, are millennials and have different needs than what their parents, had, and, have different expectations than what their parents have and had.
You've received many rave reviews being such a popular show, but you've also received some backlash for exposing the realities of colorism, the caste system, and other issues that are prevalent in South Asian culture. How do you react to that?
I think all the conversation is good. You know, I think it's great that people are loving the show. I think it's great that people are watching the show. You know, and I think that the conversations that the show is sparking are long overdue. I recognize that it's uncomfortable, and I recognize that, you know, there are people who want to see more even in the show, which I totally understand. It's, you know, it's by no way representative of the entire, you know, South Asian or Indian diasporic experience. There's a lot that's left on the table. We didn't want to sanitize the process of what, you know, marriage is to our culture and our communities, and what, you know, are some of the more traditional conservative and sometimes regressive ideals that we're still holding on to. You know, the sort of valuing of fairness is still very much prevalent, you know, in our communities, not just, you know, for our parents. It's not something that we left behind a generation ago. Even young people today, they've internalized a lot of that, you know, and still, you know, hold on to those ideals. So I think there's no way to sort of, you know, evolve past these things unless we talk about them openly. And I'm glad that the show at least has played a part in that.
The Broken Hearts Gallery was a sweet film that released in September. We spoke to the two leads, Geraldine Vishwanathan and Dacre Montgomery, who talked about making the film and what they think the message of the movie is.
We had so much fun making this. And I think I was just so pleased that fun came through. I think you can feel it, which was, I think, all I wanted. So I was really pleased with the result.
Obviously, Stranger Things is a very different genre than this. Is there one that you like more?
No, I think I'm just lucky to be able to explore so many different genres. I think I'm just lucky, you know, because I love comedy. I love watching comedy. I love rom-coms. I love everything that's under that umbrella. And I think to explore some of those themes here was just to feel honored to be given the space and time to be taught it, basically, by Geraldine and Natalie and the rest of the cast and crew. Yeah, I think the message from this film is definitely now one of a simpler time. You know, the message of this film, I think, is obviously still the same, but I think it has changed in purely the given circumstances, or the context of the world has changed so much. So I think it's so nice that we get to celebrate the release of this in the cinema. I think firstly, that's amazing. And I think the message still stands true, even though the context has changed. I think the message is still about the universally kind of inexplicable nature of love. And I think that's the beautiful thing about it.
To me, I think this film is about taking your pain and your heartbreak and turning it into something beautiful. And I think that feels really relevant right now in these dark times, that it just counts what you do with that pain. And I think if you don't let it consume you rather than inspire you, and I think Lucy really does that. And then invites other people to join too, because it is such a universal thing and we're all going through it.
Actor Sikandar Kher joined us in October to talk about nepotism being from a film family and his favorite films of his talented parents.
Everyone's talking about nepotism and how it's so unfair and bullying. From someone who's from the industry, what are your thoughts? I'm curious.
Well, of course, there's nepotism. They can't say that there's no nepotism. There is nepotism. There's nepotism, then again, I'll say in every single industry. You know, if a doctor's son wants to be a cardiologist and the doctor's a neurosurgeon, he'll tell his cardiologist friend probably, listen, give him a little bit of a, you know, can he come and intern for you? Now, I'm not going to be apologetic about where I was born. You know, I'm not going to apologize for that. Having said that, I've auditioned for every single part that I've gotten. But yeah, there is nepotism. Having said that, there are trillions and trillions of people who come into Bombay to become actors, and some people might not even get a chance. But nobody has really given me work. Me personally, I'm talking, for just the sake of me being Anupam Kher's son. That's not going to make them money. You know, nobody's giving people work randomly. It's a business at the end of the day. I don't get so much work, man. Other people might be getting it. I can easily sit and be bitter about it. I'm not. So I don't think people should really feel bitter about stuff that's not in their control.
From your illustrious father's career and your mom's career, I'm a big fan of hers as well. What are some of your favorite films of theirs?
My father's, I like Saransh. I liked him in Karma as Dr. Dang. I liked him in Ram Lakhan. I've liked him in this really interesting film called Mast Kalandar, where he plays this this gay guy called Pinku. It was really, really funny. I liked him in Chalbaz. I've liked him in. There's so many films. He's done like 500 films, and a lot of them are like, and so many of Yash Chopra's films that he's done. You know, I've always loved Yashji's work. You know, it's been a complete joy watching him do that. There was a film called Daddy that he's done with Mahesh Bhatt also, where he's done a great job. My mother hadn't worked for years because she came to become an actress, to become a leading lady, but I popped in and ruined those plans. You laugh, but actually it's a dream of hers that was taken away. And I look back at it like that. But she gave her entire life to me. She started really late, and in such a short span of time, she got so much love from people because she connected with the audience. So yeah, I love all her work, you know, from the time she began. She's done Sardari Begum Darmiyan, you know, where she's done Dostana, where she's so loved by people. She's done Rang De Basanti. What a mother she is in that. A lot of people come up to me and ask me so much, what a mom, you know, we want a mom like this. I'm like, you can surely have a man. You get slapped. I got slapped also a lot, so you get a couple of those.
Well, you strike me as someone who probably pushed her buttons a lot, though.
Yeah. Oh no, I deserved all those slaps completely. I've aged her faster than she should have.
Sheetal Sheth came onto our show after a long time to talk about her second book, Bravo Anjali, and what prompted her to write these books, and overcoming cancer.
Tell me the inspiration behind it.
Yes. So when I was pregnant with my first, which is now over 6 years ago, you know, I was buying children's books and looking around and reading and just kind of soaking in what I wanted to bring into our home. And I was really, much like all media, really dismayed at the lack of inclusiveness, representation, stories that I feel like really reflect the world. And I found that if there was a brown character or any character of any culture, it generally revolved around a story having to do with a holiday or religion or mythology. And that's fine, but that's not what we do all the time, daily, you know. And I thought, let me just take a crack at it. I just did it and I thought, we'll see what happens, you know. And I found a book agent and we sold it. And now with the second book coming out, I've learned that this is the only the first illustrated book series that has a South Asian hero, you know, and it's shocking actually that there hasn't been one. She's me, she's my friends, she's stories I've heard. I've absorbed a lot, but a lot of it is my children. A lot of it are my friends. Like there's pieces of things that find their way into her that makes her kind of an amalgamation of, you know, anyone kind of growing up here, a little girl of color growing up in America with strong cultural roots. Now, VP-elect Kamala Harris was running. What happened with Senator Perdue deliberately mispronouncing her name is the story of Always Anjali. Thank goodness we have these kinds of moments and books and stories to talk about our kids, you know, to talk about these moments with our kids so they feel seen and that they understand they're not alone.
I'm so happy you are cancer-free. You motivate so many women, young women, to keep on fighting.
It's been a tough couple of years. You know, I will say though, I've been more productive than ever, actually. And I think being faced with your mortality, you know, obviously is part of that. And I really say this not to sound doom and gloom, but I don't know if I have tomorrow. I really don't. You know, I'm okay right now, but any day that could change. And I know that that is my life, you know, but I have to look forward to in the sense of there is nothing promised. Time is the most precious commodity. So think about how you use it and only do things that you really, really want to do.
In December, Acorn TV released the series A Suitable Boy. We caught up with actress Tabu, who talked about her role and her journey working with Meera Nair.
I feel like you were born to play Saida Bai. In the way you brought so much elegance, so much style, and so much sensuality to that role.
Thank you.
How did you do it? Like, how did you just step into her character?
First of all, because I really loved her. I loved how she was written. And so I think when you really love a character that you're going to play, you want to be them, you want to live their journey through them. So it becomes easy. And of course, because Meera loves this character. I think Meera is so Saida-esque in a sense. her love for music, her love for aesthetic, her love for art, and the music of those times. Meera is very, very in touch with all that. So it was easy, and also because I haven't played a courtesan really in any of my films. So it was a very new and a beautiful and an exciting territory for me to be entering.
And of course, you already have an equation with Meera. She wants to cast you in almost all her films. So how have you seen her evolve?
She's the same. The same. If anything, I think she has more energy now than she had during the namesake. I wonder how that is possible, even. But she's that same bundle of vibrant, like firebrand energy that makes things happen around her and who pulls people into her world and her energy and her world, which is a very, very enriching place to be. The thing about working with Meera is, and even like being around her or associating with her, even, I mean, even if I don't, it's not just about work. Of course, work is always a very enriching experience with anybody that you work with. But just to, know her and just to, feel her energy that is so palpable, that comes from her mind, from her experiences, from who she is, from what she believes in, the kind of life she leads, the kind of values that she has, and her understanding of cinema and arts and everything, and that richness of life that she offers to you from her own experience is really amazing, because really it's very inspiring to be around somebody like her, a woman like her, who's really pushed so many boundaries where women are concerned, where Asian women are concerned, Asian women in the US, in the American film industry, the place that she occupies. It's really commendable.
And from one talent to another, the week after we were joined by Meera Nair herself, who talked about making a series like A Suitable Boy. She gushed about the talented cast, the subject matter, and much more.
You've outdone yourself. What a treat this was. Tell me the process.
It is based on Vikram Seth's great masterpiece, Suitable Boy, which is, a real tome of India in 1950s preparing for its first national election. It's a story that crosses across four families, elite families and rural families, and at the heart of it is a mother trying to find a suitable boy for her last unmarried daughter. I loved this novel, and it was about, it's an idealistic time. India had just achieved its independence from the British, and even though we still dreamt in English and were very much anglicized worlds in India, which is a large part of our story, it was a time to make and get to know our own country. So it was a very long 3-year process. We've just finished, and very happy to see the reception it has received in the world.
Were you very personally involved with the casting?
Of course, I'm the director of the film, and casting is the lifeblood of any work. And I'm, love actors, and every single one of the 105 actors in the film has been chosen and cast by me, but with the extraordinary help of these amazing casting directors who scoured all over India, Dilip Shankar and Nandini Shrikant and Karan Mali. But then each one had to be vetted right from, to Vikram to the BBC. Everyone had to approve of each one, but they did, and they were just brilliant.
And the one thing I did notice that you handle very beautifully, it's uncomfortable to watch, but you do it, is the sexually molestation scene. You talked to me about how you would tell young ladies to handle this when it happens to them, and if it happens to them.
I guess for me, it's about revealing a situation that feels real and not gratuitous, and it's all about the point of view. Whose point of view are you making that scene for? Is it for the girl, or is it for the predator? So it's not that I love to look at that, but it's just that the not looking at the underbelly of life does not mean that it will go away. That we know that is part of life, and so I like to bring it into the open. And this, again, just to remind you, in Suitable Boy is Vikram Seth's imagination as well, and very much, a reflection of that incredible patriarchal society, especially in that time that we come from, where the guy is the lord of the house and no one questions. Everyone knows what's what, but no one dare challenge, the way that it is. I'm very happy to tell you that we are re-releasing Mississippi Masala 30 years anniversary next year, 2021, all over. And really, for me, it's a kind of an anthem to Kamala Harris. And she, for me, is like a child of Mississippi Masala, but it reflects so much of what we are insisting on and fighting for today, after years of it not being addressed at all. Racism and prejudice within our own hearts is an old, ancient thing. And it's so important and to regard it and to question it, and to also then again be reminded that we are really alike. Everyone is alike, and there is no question that of us and them. And but to address it with lightness as well, and humor, and how we really are also, how we talk, and also the pain of it, the desperate pain of it. So yeah, I mean, I've been engaged in this, call it the hierarchy of color, like I do, since I ever came to this country, when I was a 19-year-old student, and felt, that I was accessible as a brown person to black and white, but there were invisible lines everywhere, in some senses. And to question that and to actually rail against it, but to question it, was what drove us to make Mississippi Masala. And it has been very moving for me to see how BLM and Black Lives Matter and have become now common to our reality. That's just amazing. It's like a civic rising, that we don't want more of this. And that's been extraordinarily moving to be a part of that today here in New York City.
Another show which blew up towards the end of 2020 was another Netflix release, The Fabulous Lives of Bollywood Wives. We chatted with actor Sanjay Kapoor, who talked all about his wife's debut and his own journey in the Bollywood film industry.
Recently, of course, your fabulous Bollywood wife has been in the
Yeah, that's right. That's been a crazy thing, because when Maheep got this thing and Karan told her about it, they were on a flight and they were flying from Delhi to Bombay, and he came up and I think the Seema and Bhavna were there on the same flight. And she said, I've thought about this, we are doing that. And she came flustered at home. And then I encouraged her. I said, see, if Karan is doing it, and then with Karan, we got to know Netflix was going to be the platform. I said, they will do it in a very nice way. It will not be frivolous, because good people are involved there. So with that kind of encouragement, they got into it. But it was still in a thin line, and I'm like, we all are shocked and pleasantly surprised. It's just people have taken to it and people have loved that show. This show is all about those 4 girls, and they've done a fantastic job. And I know it's not very easy just to be yourself and, face the camera. And when Karan showed us the trailer, I knew it's going to work. And I was very, very sure it's going to work, but I didn't know it's going to work so big. And for Maheep especially, I thought her character, the way she portrayed, she was being herself. She was, using the 4-letter words a lot. And I think so that's what has worked for people. Like she was not faking it. She was what she is in real life. She was in front of the camera, which is very difficult. And I think so that's what people have realized. You're seeing something, even though it's a show, it's a reality show, but there was something honest about it.
One of the episodes you actually talk about the huge raging debate of nepotism right now. And exactly.
Because I find it strange, this this, I've been hearing this word, actors have been their sons and their brothers from the way back to the great Mr. Prithvi Raj Kapoor, to Mr. Raj Kapoor, Mr. Shami Kapoor, Mr. Shashi Kapoor, their children, Dharamji, Amitji, we never heard about it that time. I never heard about it. This is something which has started 3 years back or 3.5 years back. And of course, nepotism is there. It's there in every line. And in fact, I genuinely think it is the toughest in the film industry, because when you're facing the camera, it's not that I'm owning a factory, that my child is just going to take over the factory or my business, whether he's capable or not. At the downside, it is your expectations are so much more higher than another thing. So I keep on saying, I said, I'm the biggest example when we talk about nepotism, because I went through a phase where I had the same connection with the same people. My brothers didn't change for those 8-10 years. I still have those brothers, but nothing happened. I didn't sign a film. And today, when I'm doing these digital and I'm, whether it was the films I'm doing and everything, Boni and Anil are producers. I've not worked with Boni's film or Anil's film. I've never worked with. I've not worked in any of Boni's films for the last 17, 18 years. I wish nepotism was there. And
Boni and Anil,
it is there. Yeah, are you hearing? Boni, Anil, are you all hearing? Why didn't they cast me? Yeah? They should have casted me. Finally, a Dibakar Banerjee comes and sees me in a club, and he sees Salman in me, and he casts me love stories. And my life changes with that. And I don't know Dibakar Banerjee for Adams. Yeah? So it doesn't work like that.
We ended the year with a conversation with choreographer and dancer Nakuldev Mahajan. He talked about his love for dance, his personal struggles, and the biggest highlight of his career.
Tell me when dance came into your life.
Well, dance came into my life at a very early age because my parents are, huge Bollywood fans. I found myself really gravitated to just the song and dance numbers, and any places that didn't have choreography. And at the time, I didn't even know what that word meant. I would fill it up on my own with whatever was coming to my mind. So my mother was very concerned that her son is dancing, and not just dancing to Amitabh Bachchan songs from Suhag, but he's also doing Rekha's parts too, and doing it quite well. So that kind of obviously concerned her. So I often got in trouble for dancing. Innately, I just couldn't stop.
You've made it into an extremely successful career, but clearly this was not easy even from the get-go. And then, you've been so brave. You've talked about the fact that you are gay. You've talked about the fact that you had cancer. What gives you the strength to come out and be a leader of sorts?
Well, I just feel that, it's all about paying it forward. I think that's, and I see myself as an educator first before anything else. And there's a sense of responsibility there. It's a gift. So for me, with the gift of dance, I've also been given the gift of being different. And that is a gift. And it took me a long time to realize that this is the gift that has combined with the platform that I've been very lucky to be on. My strength came from just, obviously seeing the world changing, but also the support of people. Like once I came out to my parents and found that courage, and once they embraced me and said, "You are you and we love you no matter what. And although we may not understand, and that's okay, seeing you happy in your authentic self is what every parent wants." And that gave me the strength. And then after that, Reshma, it didn't matter anymore.
What would you say is your biggest highlight of your career? First big highlight of your career?
I think my biggest highlight of my career, when I kind of gave myself a little pat on the back, was perhaps when I got a call from Michelle Obama's people to come to the White House and, teach her Bollywood dancing along with students from nearby schools. And then being at the White House and just having, it was very short, it was like less than 5 minutes, but just having a conversation with her and her just telling me how much she enjoys watching Bollywood dancing on So You Think You Can Dance. And that's how she came across knowing me. And just, you know, her embracing the Indian culture and loving it and bringing that into the forefront of the White House, which I think is something that I thought I would never see. And I think at that moment, especially my father, I think, you know, he was, that was his big moment that his son made it to the White House.